A fairytale Nigerian wedding suddenly turns into chaos when EFCC agents storm the venue mid-ceremony, leaving guests in shock and the bride in tears. What was meant to be the happiest day of her life unravels into a heart-pounding scandal no one saw coming. It was the wedding everyone in Lagos was talking about. The bride, Edeora, was known for her beauty. The groom, Chuka, was famous for being rich. Nobody knew how he made his money, but he always drove big cars, wore gold chains, and had many friends who looked like they came from movies. The wedding was held at a big hotel in Victoria Island. There were white horses, bright lights, and a cake that was taller than 2 people. Musicians were flown in from other countries. Even the flowers looked like they came from heaven. Everyone wanted to be there. Children danced, aunties sprayed money, and uncles ate jollof rice and goat meat. Everyone was happy. But behind the happy music and laughter, something dark was happening. At the back of the hotel, a van was parked. Inside the van were men in black suits. They were from EFCC, the agency that catches people who steal money in Nigeria. One of them, Officer Tond, was watching the party with binoculars. "We move in when he says the code," he whispered. "What's the code again?" another officer asked. "Let the money rain. Once he says that, we enter." Back at the party, Chuka raised his glass and smiled. "My brothers and sisters," he shouted. "Today is not just a wedding. Today is a celebration of life." Everyone clapped. "But wait," he said. "Let the money rain." That was the code. In less than 10 seconds, EFCC officers ran into the party. They didn't wear uniforms. They blended in like guests. Some held small radios. Some had handcuffs. Auntie Ngozi, who was dancing with one hand on her geli, saw 2 men grab the groom. She thought it was drama. She clapped and shouted, "Yeah! They're acting film." But it wasn't a film. Suddenly, more people were arrested. The cake baker, the MC, and even the man who was holding the horse. One man jumped into the swimming pool to hide, but officers dragged him out with wet clothes and a wet phone. Screams filled the air. One old man fainted near the puff-puff table. Children started crying. The bride, Edeora, didn't understand what was happening. "Chuka! What is this?" she cried. Chuka didn't answer. He just looked down. Everything stopped. The music. The laughter. Even the goat meat. EFCC had surrounded the wedding. It was no longer a celebration. It was now a crime scene. Everyone was asked to sit down. EFCC officers moved around with a list. They were calling names. Chuka Obesai. He was already in handcuffs. Tony White. The light-skinned man with a funny accent raised his hand. "Yes, that's me." "Sit down. Don't move." Uche Peters. Uche was the DJ. He tried to pretend like he didn't hear. But EFCC already knew. "You are under arrest." "For playing music?" he asked, laughing nervously. "No. For being part of this money laundering group." All the guests were confused. What was going on? Officer Tond walked to the front of the hall. He held a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said. "This wedding was used to move dirty money. That's why we're here. This is a full operation." Guests gasped. "But I only came for rice," one woman shouted. "I don't even know the groom." "We will check everybody's phones, accounts, and connections," Tond continued. "If you are clean, you go home. But if not, you are going with us." Edeora started crying. Her white gown was now dirty from sitting on the floor. "Chuka, you lied to me. You told me you were in oil business." "I am," he said softly. "Just, not the clean kind." He looked ashamed. The hall was now filled with silence and whispers. Some women removed their high heels and rubbed their feet. Some men were sweating inside their agbada. Nobody knew who would be called next. A small girl walked to her mother and asked, "Mommy, are they taking us to jail?" "No, my dear," her mother said, hugging her tight. "We are not thieves. We came for food." But was that enough? More officers came in with bags. They started searching the wedding gifts. Some of the money in the gift boxes was fake. Some boxes were hiding dollars. Real dollars. They opened a big box of suya and found small papers inside. "What's this?" Officer Ton asked. "It's only paper," one man shouted. "No, it's not. This is code for moving money." Everyone's eyes grew wide. "This is too much," someone whispered. A woman named Auntie Bummy stood up and said, "Please, I am a church worker. I don't know these people. I came with my choir members." "Sit down, Ma," the officer said. "We will call names one by one." It was now like a big classroom with scared children. They brought out dogs to sniff the gifts. The dogs barked near the cake. "Check the cake," Ton said. They cut open the giant wedding cake. Inside was a plastic bag. Inside the bag, more money. Guests screamed again. Huh! Even the cake. This was no ordinary wedding. It was a criminal party. And everyone was now part of the investigation. Edeora was shaking. Her white dress dragged on the floor like it was tired. Her makeup had started to melt down her cheeks. The wedding of her dreams had become a nightmare. She looked at Chuka again. "You made me invite my whole village," she whispered. "Even Mama and Papa are here. You embarrassed my family." "I didn't know they would come today," Chuka muttered. "You planned everything. Even the horse," she snapped. "You used our wedding to wash dirty money." "I was trying to stop," he said, tears in his eyes. "I wanted this day to be different. I was going to leave the business after today." Officer Ton stood beside them, watching their tears, but he did not feel sorry. He had seen many like Chuka, smiling outside, wicked inside. "We have to take him now," he said. "No, please," Edeora begged. "Can't you wait till the wedding ends?" "The wedding ended the moment he said, 'Let the money rain,'" Ton replied. Two officers grabbed Chuka and began to lead him out. Edeora ran after them, holding his arm. "Please don't take him like this. People are watching." Some guests had started recording with their phones. Others were whispering, "Isn't that the bride? Aya, she didn't know. She's crying, see her face. Let them carry all of them, Jaya." Adora's younger brother, Ebuka, stood up from the corner where he had been hiding. He was only 14 years old, but he ran to her side. "Leave my sister alone," he shouted, fist clenched. One officer tried to hold him, but Ton raised his hand. "Let the boy speak," he said. Ebuka faced Chuka. "You promised to take care of my sister. You said you loved her. But you lied. You brought shame to our family. You're a wicked man." Chuka looked down. "I'm sorry, Ebuka," he whispered. But it was too late. Outside the hotel, EFCC had brought more vans. Big black buses. Chuka was thrown into one with the other suspects. Men who had come to the wedding in fine suits were now sitting on the floor of the bus, with cuffs on their hands. Some were crying. Some were silent. Some were still shouting, "You can't arrest me. Do you know who I am?" One even called the senator on the phone, but the officer collected the phone and switched it off. "You can't talk to anyone now," the officer said. Back inside, the hall was nearly empty. Only a few guests remained. Most had sneaked out when the arrest started. Edeora sat alone on the wedding stage, next to the flower pots. Her veil was on the ground. She looked lost. Her mother came and sat beside her, holding her hand. "My daughter, I'm sorry." Edeora didn't speak. "I didn't know this would happen," Mama said. "If I did, I would have told you to run." Edeora finally turned to her mother. "Why did he lie to me?" "Because the devil wears a border, my child. Sometimes he even comes with rings and cake." Edeora cried harder. Outside, rain began to fall. Soft at first, then heavy. It was as if the sky, too, was crying for the wedding that never happened. The rain poured harder, drumming on the hotel roof like angry tears. Guests who had stayed behind began to cover their heads and hurry away. Nobody wanted to be part of the story anymore. But Edeora didn't move. She sat still, soaked in pain and silence. The white wedding gown she had dreamed of since she was a child was now stained by rain, tears, and shame. Her mother wrapped her arms around her. They stayed that way for a long time, two women in a storm of sadness. Then Edeora whispered, "I loved him, Mama. I really did." Mama nodded slowly. "And love is a beautiful thing, my daughter. But when love is blind, it can walk you into fire." Edeora closed her eyes. "I should have listened when people warned me," she said. "But I thought they were jealous." "Not all that glitters is gold," Mama replied. "And not every celebration is a blessing." Edeora looked up at the empty hall. The lights were still on. The wedding chairs stood crooked. The cake was broken. The gifts were scattered. Everything looked like a ghost party. She wiped her face and stood up slowly. "Mama," she said, voice trembling but firm, "I want to go home." Mama rose beside her. "Yes, my child. It's time." As they walked toward the exit, Edeora looked back one last time. She didn't see flowers or decorations. She saw a warning. She saw the truth. She saw that life had taught her a hard lesson. But she was still alive. She would heal. She would rise again. And as she stepped into the rain with her mother, Edeora whispered to herself, "Next time, I will choose better. Not by the size of the ring, but by the peace in my heart." Moral lesson. Not every beautiful event is a true blessing. Some are traps dressed in lace and glitter. Always look deeper. Always ask questions. Because real love never hides in secrets or lies.